Breaking out of the familiar. This will be the topic of today's discussion. You're listening to Power to Prosper. I am your host, Dr. Natasha Oquindo. And so let's dig into it. Today, we're talking about breaking out of the familiar. And if any of you are like myself and you know that there is a pulling to go to your next level in life, in your mentality, in your business, in your ministry, your relationships, all areas, right? And you feel like there is something more. There is something more. Then it starts with breaking out of the familiar. At least this is a part of the process of going to your next level. So you might want to take a few notes and you might want to sit and just kind of ponder this today, right? And also share it with somebody, because I'm sure if you're sensing it and feeling it for yourself, then somebody else is doing the same, right? Be a blessing to somebody and share it with them, right? Listen, and so let's get down into it. The first thing that I want to address when breaking out of the familiarity or the realm of the familiar to go to your next level. The first thing you need to do is your mindset has to shift in order for you to operate at that next level. Your mindset has to take a shift, right? And that means the familiar mindset, the mindset that has worked for you, or the way of thinking that has worked for you on the level that you're on right now, more than likely is not going to be suffice for where you need to go in your next level. Meaning the way that you view a thing, your perception. There could be different things that are going on in your life. And I will say this, even when it concerns negativity, complaining, and all of those things. And if you find yourself at that place where you're complaining a whole lot, where you're murmuring a whole lot, where you're critical about things a whole lot, or you just feel a lot of negativity, the good thing is this, that is an indication that you're needing to go to the next level, right? Where you are and your mentality has hit a stuck place. And you'll know it because you begin to experience certain things with individuals and see cycles, right? You'll see the same thing happening at different times in your life. And the mentality, those things are happening, but it's for you to change your mind. A lot of times, some of us who pray, we be praying and we want things to change visibly in what we see. But when we pray and those things on the outside of us are not shifting and are not changing, then there is a deeper level of thing that needs to happen. That means we need to change our perspective. We need to change the way we see or think concerning those things, right? And so we're being required to go to a greater magnitude or our next level of thinking, right? And so with that being said, with the mindset shift, I think about when I was getting ready many times going to my next level, that is the base of where it begins, where you start changing your perspective and changing the way you're thinking, changing the way you're viewing, right? And even changing what you're focusing on. Because a lot of times when you're so focused on negative things, then your mind begins to expound on the negative things. If you're speaking a bunch of negative things, then your life begins to emulate the negative things. It becomes big, it becomes prevalent. And so you want to pull your mindset in, and that may take you meditating and really analyzing your thought pattern and your perception. And if you're experiencing various things like replicating over and over in your life, then that's for you to pull in, to hone in on it and really pick it apart and really see what God is trying to say to you per se, and not so much focus outwardly, if that makes sense. And so that's number one. It starts with the mindset shift taking place. Number two, when you're breaking out of the familiar, one thing that is going to happen is your comfortability is going to be disrupted, right? You may be so comfortable. And this is an indication, right, that it is time for you to go to your next level. When I say comfortability, that can be various things. That can be a numerous things. You could be comfortable in just where you are in life. And when I say that comfortability becomes disrupted, then you may be comfortable, but you may not be satisfied. And that is the thing. You could be so comfortable at a level, but never satisfied. Your satisfaction level becomes disrupted, right? It almost seems like nothing that you do at that level is satisfying anymore. And that is because you may be satisfied, like too comfortable with your surroundings, even the type of people that you are around, right? You may be stuck in your personality. Now, this is a powerful one. And I want to share this because this kind of goes undetected. But to go to your next level may mean that you need to dig deeper into your personality as a person. Because a lot of times we're like, well, this is who I am. Instead of having the this is who I am, because that's a mentality. Who you are at that moment may not be who God really made you to be. And I say that because situations, life experiences, and circumstances have the power to shape our personality. And many people are comfortable in dysfunction, right? Let me give you an example. And it may be just this negative thing in your personality where you may be required to celebrate somebody, but you always make it about you. And so it's hard for you to celebrate. And I'm using this as an example. It's hard for you to celebrate somebody else because you have this thing where, well, they ain't celebrating me. I want to be celebrated. And your verbiage and everything, your mindset always reflects and goes back to self, right? Not realizing that, okay, I need to break out of this in my personality. I should be able to celebrate somebody else without highlighting me. Or I should be able to compliment somebody else without feeling as though it takes something away from me. So that is a glitch in the personality that may need to be tweaked or may need to shift in order to go and operate and flow at the next level, because you never know. That is a thing. That is a thing, right? Being able to celebrate others, being able to show gratitude towards others, being able to honor others or give them accolades or whatever. If you're going to operate at a higher level in life, in business, ministry, relationships, all these different areas, right? Then that should be something that flows gracefully. That shouldn't have to be like pulling teeth. And that's just an example, right? You could be stuck in your personality where you may be a sarcastic person, right? And a lot of times we cover the jokey thing up, which really comes off as sarcasm towards people. So that may be something that's being challenged. Why? Because now, and I'm gonna give you an example. How do you know with this glitch that you need to go to the next level? Is because now people are being offended by your personality. Now it's becoming a problem and it's an issue that keeps coming up. Well, the way you said that, or the way you did that, or, all of these different things. And not saying now that other people don't have dysfunctions, as in like insecurities and low self-esteem and battle with jealousy and envy and competitive, all these different things, right? Not saying that other people not battling with things like that, and even ourselves may have a measure of that on the inside. But what I am saying is, don't you become stuck in the personality that may be being challenged. Don't go to fighting for your own honor so that you can remain the same, because God is always wanting us to evolve, right? And so And then maybe, let me say this. Maybe some of you are like me. Maybe you have a lot of diversity in your personality. I have that where there is diversity of my personality where I can be goofy and jokey, and then I can be real serious, and focused, and you get what I'm saying. And sometimes I come off, like just so happy. And then sometimes I may come off very, very focused and very, very serious. And people may be used to one or two of those different avenues of my personality. And so a lot of times people may judge you on an avenue that they have met, but they don't know you in your entirety. I've had that to happen. And so what I'm saying is maybe you're being pulled into another facet of who you are. And people may not be used to that. And they're looking at the changes like, you trying to be somebody that you're not. No, you really don't know this side of me. You don't know me in my entirety, right? And so sometimes you have to be willing to not, in order to not be stuck in that personality, but to take on a different side of who you are to operate at the next level, if that makes sense. And so another thing, number 3 that I want to bring out, in order to break out of the familiar and really function and flow in the next level of life and living in business and all of that, ministry, everything, your anointing, all of that, right? You have to be willing to break out of your own knowledge. This is a heavy one, right? It's almost like you have to be willing to bring low what you know in order to gain what you don't know. That may be heavy. How do you know? Because there is a level of comfortability. Let me give you an example. You may have a mom and pop shop type business, right? And you may be afraid to scale up, or you may not have the knowledge about scaling up. But there is a pulling that there got to be more. I got to take my business to the next level. So you have to be willing to bring low your comfortability and what you already know at that mom and pop level, right? In order to gain the knowledge of what you need to know to scale up into a more profitable business model, if that makes sense. And I'm using that as an example. And with that being said, now I think about when you're breaking out of your own knowledge, and I'll use it on this end as an example as well. You may be used to functioning in a way where you may have a slight manipulative way with that you would used to get your way with people, or say the right thing or maneuver the right way. And now that tactic that you're using is not working, right? And so now you're being challenged to change or to shift concerning that, or to tweak concerning that, to get that thing like, okay, let me get this thing out of the way, because now it is backfiring on you. This is how you know. And now you're being challenged. And now somebody may be calling you to the carpet and saying, look, that's manipulation. You're being manipulative right now. You know what I mean? Somebody may be saying those things. So you cannot ignore what they're saying. You have to key in on it, because now you're being challenged to go to your next level, and that cannot go. Right? And that's just the negative end of it. And like I said, with the mom and pop shop, that's the positive end. Nothing is wrong with shifting and tweaking and transitioning to your next level of operation. Nothing is wrong with that, even concerning your personality. Right? Instead of saying, look, I'm the same. I always been the same. This is who I always been. I ain't changed. Listen, nothing wrong with change, especially when it's evolving you to be a better person and to take on better opportunities and greater things that even God may be calling you to, right? It may require it in order to function and flow properly on that level. Number 4, I want to deal with fear. When you're breaking out of the familiar, I want to deal with the fear. And when I talk about the fear, the one thing I want to address is being afraid of what other people will think. You cannot, oh Lord, when you're going to your next level, just like I use the example, people are going to say different things about you. They're going to think different things about you. They may say, oh, they think they all that, or that's not who they really are. They're trying to be somebody that they're not. Instead of looking at it like this person is growing, this person is changing, this person is even maturing. If that is a word that could be said, which is a powerful word, right? And so what I want you to understand is this: you don't have control over the grounds of other people's thoughts. And so that's really not your business or your concern with what somebody thinks about you. There's nothing you can do to control that. Nothing you can do to change that or tweak that. The only thing you can do is try to do good by everyone. Even the scripture said that Jesus went about doing nothing but good. And we see in that example that everybody wasn't on the bandwagon with Jesus. Everybody didn't think that his good was good. Right? There were people who were critical. There were people who were judgmental. There were people looking at his mindset or perspective like it was wrong. But Jesus was navigating at a high level, right? He was navigating in a very powerful level. And so everybody did not understand that in his time. And that is okay. You just got to be okay with it. You can't let it get in your heart. And I want to say, when you're breaking out of that familiar, you don't want to get resentment down in your heart. You don't want to get unforgiveness or bitterness to take root down in your heart, because that can slow you down and even put you on pause and have you stuck before you can enter into your next level. I want to give an example of how he had to leave his kindredmen. Right? He had to leave his kindredmen. Why did he have to leave his kindred? A lot of times, and when we say our kindred, we may be talking about family. A lot of us come up in families where that family line has a certain mindset, a certain belief system, a certain pattern of thinking. And a lot of times when you're going to your next level, especially when it concerns your faith and how God wants you to believe and how he may handpick you, right? You'll leave your kindredmen. And in Abraham's situation, it was physically. He relocated, literally. God had him to relocate. Sometimes you have to relocate physically, and sometimes you definitely have to relocate mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and all that. You have to detach yourself from some of those things so God can download or give you his expectation of your thinking, right? And so when he did that, he had to leave his kindred. And he was blessed of the Lord. If you look at that, he had to leave. He was leaving a mindset. And a lot of times that mindset has to do with how they view you as well. They may view you at a certain place. And if you pay attention, they'll always keep you in that place because that is how they remember you, right? That is the way that they view you. That about you is what sticks out in their memory bank. And so sometimes you have to come away from all of that in order to get the new mindset and get the new way to view yourself, right? The new way of how God views you. Another part of that separation with Abraham when he went to the next level, you saw when him and Lot disconnected themselves. And when only after he disconnected himself from Lot, did he get to the part where God said, now look and see as far as your eyes can see. Right? That's where we get into that. Eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, neither has it entered into the heart of man what God has in store for those of us that love him. And so a lot of the vision and creativity and things that you may be looking for, you may have to back away from some things or some individuals that are familiar. That familiarity can really, really kill relationships, partnerships, all of those different things, right? It can get in the way and it can cause things to not progress forward, right? And so just another example, I'm giving these biblical examples because they're real. You had Joseph snatched away from his kindred, right? Sold into slavery, and his process began. But at the end of that process, he winded up being in the position of a governor, and where he was able to reconnect with his family, but he was at a level to where he could bring all of their lives to the next level. And that's powerful for somebody. So in that separation, you know what I'm saying? In that separating yourself from the familiar places, the familiar people, the familiar mindset, the familiar things, when you pull away from these things, familiar ideologies, familiar, mindsets and ways of thinking. One example I can use is a religious mindset. In order to go on into a powerful place in God, sometimes you have to pull away from the familiarity of religiousness, having that form of godliness that denies the power thereof, the power to live it, the power to move in it, the power to, to be it, right? And so, and these are just some of the examples that I could think of, right? And even with myself, as God was taking me, I remember one time specifically, God was taking me to a new level, and he was introducing me. He said he was repositioning me and introducing me to another part of my calling where it was hard for me to embrace it because of the mindset that was so weighty in the atmosphere that I was in. And so I had to really, really meditate and pull myself in and let God really, I had to back away from some individuals for a time, right? And I'm guilty of this because, and God had to deal with me. I literally got dealt with by God for this. And the reason being is because I'm so used to moving in obedience to God. But then when it came to this certain point, I kind of stumbled in it, or I was afraid and I didn't really understand why. Because I'm this individual, and he used this scenario to show me a parable. I was flying one time, and because I was this individual that I be want to carry everybody on my back if I can. If I want to bring everybody to the next level with me, and I've always had that, right? Always had that heart to just let's all of us eat. Come on, let's all eat. We all can do this, and this was my mindset, right? And then God checked me because everybody don't be ready to go to the next level. It's no different than saying when the student is ready, then the teacher shows up type thing, right? And so not every student is ready during that time, if that makes sense. And so God used a scenario of me on the plane, and when the flight attendants were explaining about the oxygen mask, they were saying, put the oxygen on yourself first, and then put the oxygen on your kids or on your neighbors or different ones. I had this mentality, this mindset that had to shift, because I would have been putting that oxygen mask on somebody else, and then I'd have been just fainted without oxygen, right? And so listen, and so God had to tweak my mindset to let me know that you're not just leaving everybody. There's something that I'm doing with you. So at the appointed time, when you finish that process and I properly reposition you, you can be an even greater benefit to everybody, if that makes sense, right? And so these were different attributes that I was bringing out about breaking out of the familiar if you're going to succeed and go into your next level, right, of faith, your next level of operation, your next level of opportunities that are waiting behind these shifts. There are opportunities that are waiting behind these shifts. There are new ideas and creativity that are waiting behind these shifts. And I don't want you to miss it, right? And so let me just decree this. I just decree and declare over your life that you are breaking out of the realm of the familiar, and that you are being equipped, and that you have the capacity to embrace the next level of your life, the next level of your ministry, the next level of your relationships, the next level of your business, the next level of your faith, and everything that God is calling you to accomplish during this time. Look, this is Power to Prosper. This is Dr. Natasha Oquendo. Go ahead, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go ahead, give a rating to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever stream that you may be on. Until next time, I want you to be blessed and you shall prosper.